Chancellor Jeremy Hunt has announced that more than 600,000 people on universal credit are going to have to meet with a work coach to help get them back to work. Now, we asked people if they supported this plan, and 57% of people who were polled said yes.
Not quite sure how that's going to work, and we'll find out later. And who do you blame the most for the current economic turmoil in the UK? Well, 21% said Liz Truss, and 21% said the war in the Ukraine, with no mention of the lockdown cost.
No, well, I suppose people just sort of took that for granted, didn't they? Well, the threshold at which people pay the highest rate of tax has been reduced from £150,000 a year to £125,140. Now, to what extent, if at all, do you support or oppose this plan? Well, 50% support it.
Amazing. Which of the following would be best to manage the British economy in the years ahead? Well, the top answer, I find this hilarious in a way, 40%, 42% don't know.
I think they were being honest. I don't think most people do know. And joining us now is business commentator and co-founder regionally, Justin Urquhart-Stewart. Justin, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Oh, Justin, you're sitting there with your cat. Does that mean that the cat has got a better opinion than you have on this poll?
Almost certainly. Some of my best decisions are made by her. But you live with the Burmese, this is what happens. You just get stuck with them the entire time.
Well, Burmese tend to talk a lot, don't they? So instead of the cat, absolutely, you tell us. What do you make of the results of the poll?
Well, I find it fascinating. The first one, where you're going to have be able to have some advice given to you by various consultants to help you back into work. That's great. Where are you going to find these people? No, you've got more chance of actually finding yourself with a sort of health advisor, with advising you on pelotons or something like that. Now, I'm afraid it's a lovely idea to sit there and say, well, advise people back into work. No, what you need to do is, we've got an employee shortage, is get all those people of a certain older age, sort of like this one, to be able to encourage them back into work again. Why? Because they decided to retire. Well, I didn't, but in their 50s. And these are people who know what they're doing, expertise, thought they could retire, enjoy it, and now be able to. We need them. Get them back in, adjust the tax rate, give them an encouragement to do so.
A lot of people have already done that, haven't they? B&Q, I think, was one of the first companies to recognise that actually people of a certain age had the qualifications, they had the knowledge, and they were able to pass on that knowledge to a younger generation and help them become better at serving the public in service industries or whatever. So, I mean, a lot of people who are retired do not want to just sit at home and watch the telly during the day. They do want to get out to work, and there are companies prepared to let them do that. Isn't there 600,000, though, really looking at people who are choosing not to work, and they're the ones that we've got to persuade to get back into jobs?
Well, I think also there's going to be another issue, and you were saying a little earlier, the big pressure on people at the moment, because of course there's going to be real pain in the next few months with the cost of living, in terms of not just food, but obviously the power issues as well, despite the support being given. They will be wanting to come back anyway, I suspect. A good number of people want to take part-time jobs, other jobs, just to be able to try and make ends meet, because it's otherwise going to be extremely painful. And give us a bit more job flexibility, allow them back in. It's the long-term people who actually suffer, particularly from COVID. They need help and support, because long-term COVID is, well, it's one of those things that many people have suffered from, not quite sure how to manage it and how to get out of it. Certainly, kick-starting yourself back into it is incredibly difficult.
So, Justin, back to that point of 42% don't know who'd be able to run the economy best. Is that a reflection, do you think, on the paucity of talent that we have in both the Conservative and the Labour Party?
Well, I have to say, when you look round, people are sitting there saying, well, what's the choice that we've got? And we've been through a fair number of prime ministers now, so that's OK. But we're sort of running out of alternatives. So people then look at Starmer, and eventually the Tories will say, well, actually, maybe that is the alternative. I can't imagine him joining the Tory party. But people are very confused, because what has happened and how do you manage it? They therefore look back to some of our previous prime ministers and say, oh, well, he or she could have managed our way through it. Really? You think what's happened over the past 10 years, from a banking crisis, obviously what's happened in terms of the global economic crisis, and now we're actually dealing with the pandemic as well. Putting all those things together and finding a leader to manage that has been really very difficult indeed.
You're saying really then, Justin, that because we've got this sort of perfect storm of all the things that you've mentioned, that really it's going to take someone of exceptional quality to get us out of this situation, and there just isn't someone who fits that particular box at the moment in power. Oh, that's it.
I can't. That's one of the issues. I should find someone who's actually don't drop the cap. One of the problems is, where is the star? Where are the leaders? And that's one of the biggest issues we've got. When you look at the range of politicians that we've got at the moment, I think it doesn't really stand out as people who would inspire you to say, yes, I'll go over the top and fight for them. I think there's an awful lot of people who are very dissatisfied. We've had the Conservatives in, both as the coalition and as the Tory parties directly. And we've had a Labour Party which in the year past is looking pretty useless. So now that's starting to change. So I think life might get a bit sharper now, as Starmer is now looking more electable, as you can see in the votes coming through. But still, people are very confused indeed. Who is the person that we can really trust? And I think that's quite an interesting part for a democracy, because they do look around. It's not a matter of just having a one-party state. We've got a choice. The trouble is, what to choose from?
Justin, final question. If people are saying basically none of the above can be trusted, do you think electorally there could be a role for a new party, somebody fresh to come in and change things?
Well, we've tried it several times before. We've had go right the way back to the days of the Gang of Four coming out, and then they become the SDP and the LD, and then Liberal Democrats reforming themselves, and then heaven forbid we then have the UKIP who's still back again, and now we've got the Reform Party. With our electoral system, it doesn't happen, except very exceptionally. It can happen, obviously, in say, nationalist areas like Scotland and Wales, but actually in the rest of the country, no, it's really difficult to break through indeed. So you can have a protest vote, but it's not going to go much more than that. So we're trying to find another party now. It's really going to actually take hold of things. It's really going to be quite difficult.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we've got to find someone within the parties that we've got, and at the moment we've got to support Rishi Sunak.
A Conservative within the Conservative Party would be a good start.
Yeah.